Okay, it's time to continue the party. We need to continue working on our Web3 React.js application. And we got to the point that we need to start scaling what we can do with the application. We developed the NFT mint portal. We coded a smart contract to buy NFTs using our dApp, our Web3 application that we have been working with. Now we need to discuss how do we scale that site to display data that is relevant to the collection. So if you're familiar with OpenSea, what they do is they basically called our smart contract, because again, it's blockchain. It means that it's available, it's open. I can talk on the blockchain, retrieve that information from the smart contract and display that on my site. That's what OpenSea is doing. They're not doing anything out of this world. They're literally just scanning the blockchain. Not scanning the blockchain. They're actually interfacing to the blockchain every time that someone mints an NFT ERC721 or 1155 smart contract. They're scanning and they're constantly talking to the blockchain and retrieving those contracts and displaying them on the site. So now they are interacting with your smart contract. So then you can list your stuff for sale, your NFTs for sale, you can trade that, you can auction it, etc. Okay, how can we grab our NFT dApp, our Web3 dApp, and provide our end users a more visually appealing interface, right? One thing that we can do, and this is what I'm thinking for this video, we want to display the NFTs on our site, right? So by displaying the NFTs on our site, we can show potential buyers the NFTs, and also we can develop a future roadmap with those NFTs. The most important thing, and this is my personal opinion, anyone that has a different opinion, they're more than welcome to share their comments on the video section. I would love to hear your suggestions, or what do you think about a promising NFT collection, right? We know that we have a lot of projects out there that you need to know which ones are truly solid from a roadmap standpoint. One thing that we can provide our users is the ability to trade that NFT. We have OpenSea. OpenSea can be used to do that, right? But what if we could provide the same capabilities on our NFT website? That sounds amazing, right? I bet you have been thinking about that. How could I allow my users to resell their NFTs on my site? There's a lot of steps to make that happen. But in this video, what I want to show you is the start of how you start scaling that website up. You're going to see that what you already have built, or our video journey that I have been working with for the past couple of weeks, you're going to see that it's not that hard, because that's the beauty of React.js. It allows a very uniform connection or interface between HTML and JavaScript. So that's what React.js is. It's like an interface so we can work with two programming languages. HTML to do the visual side of your website, and then JavaScript to work with smart contracts. So we can use JavaScript to talk to smart contracts. Okay, so with that said, now that we have most of the, I call it the skeleton, we have the base idea, we got the principle behind what we want to do with the NFT site. Let's now configure using the same class that we used to do the API call. Let's use the same class to simplify the config, while at the same time display all the NFTs that we have minted and not minted so far. We can use that to create a box in which we can show the NFT on the same mint portal, and we can also integrate a button so the end user and any new user, if they want to buy an NFT from someone else, they can do it straight from our site. They don't have to go to OpenSea And then the cost to buy that NFT, it's going to be cheaper because there's less fees involved. And OpenSea, they're going to charge you way more money or way more fees to buy it through their site because you're interfacing with their application, so there's going to be charges. But if you decide to sell your NFTs on the same mint portal and someone else wants to buy it from you, you can use your own site as an NFT marketplace and do that. On this video, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to code the visual aspect using the existing class, so then we can build upon that. And you're going to see the power of doing the class that we did with API. Now I'm going to do it to build an array of variables that we just need to call once in HTML. So I only need to call the variable once, but still I can iterate over multiple items using one single variable. Let's start. Let me explain how you do that, and you're going to see it live. You're going to love this one. Stick around. Let's continue. Okay, so let me go ahead and move the screen. Okay, so here's what we got. The last video, I'm going to click save here. Let me take a look and see how we're looking. So on the previous video, we got so far to display that NFT token supplied on the smart contract. And when we say token supply, it's the amount of users that so far has minted NFTs, or the amount of NFTs minted on the smart contract so far, which is very valuable. Let's fix this a little bit so it looks a little bit cleaner, and we are continuing with the show. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to change this to be a lower size. So let's go ahead and change this to be a size 5. So the heading will be a little bit smaller. Let me save it. Let's see how that looks. Way better. Okay, now let me change the color. So by doing that, I can just do style, and I can type color equals white. White, and then I have to do this. There you go. Awesome. Now it should be in a white font color. So let me save it. Let's go back. Beautiful. Awesome. Okay, so we're done on that. Let's go and start with our array. So array of items that we are just going to display once. Okay? And you're going to see it. You're going to love this. Okay. So let's go back. Okay. What we want to do is, number one, we want to show each NFT in a box along with the collection name and the buy now button. So we want to code a button inside that square similar to what OpenSea has and display that on our site. So the first thing we got to do, we have to build a constant, but this one is going to have multiple items inside the constant. So I can have multiple items nested on the same constant. So let me go ahead, and I already got the information, right? So in this case, we are going to call this the constant data. And if you go here, we're just going to build. We can build it anywhere on the code. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to build it below those two null and account vars. So I'm just going to go ahead and paste it here. So I'm going to build a constant called data. Inside the constant, the first thing that I have to do, I have to create the first value. Check this out. ID is the token ID. So token 1, token 2, token 3, token 4, etc. So we're going to label this ID, right? What's the ID? 1. This will be for token 1. Again, I am not going to do it on this video. I am going to show you how you can use API to not even list the ID, and it just goes over the info from Etherscan and auto builds this whole thing, which is amazing. I'll do it in another video. I just want to show you how you do it manually, and then we'll go in and spice it up, okay? So ID is 1. Now we need to place the image, because we need to tell our users, hey, this is the actual NFT. And what we can do, we can actually point this to be the IPFS image path, okay? So by doing that, you will grab the information from IPFS. You don't need to upload the images to your website, to your web server, so it occupies less space and less resources. So it's just pulling data from IPFS the same way as OpenSea is doing. Okay? So this is the image, and every time that you add an item inside this this constant, array constant, you just need to put a comma. Okay? Next thing, we want to add the title. Okay? We are going to add the title. The title will be, our collection, add to def, and Web3 NFT collection. Okay, so we'll just do that. And then we need to create a button. So what we are going to do, we're going to call button text. Why? Because we want to populate this with the information that we need to display on the button. Okay, so in this case, I want the button to say buy now. And you're going to say, well, what's the difference of doing it here versus doing it just in the HTML? You're going to see this in a bit. Don't worry. Okay, so I think we got the information we needed. Now, let me close this one here. Let me add a comma. If I need to add more information, I can add more information, another one. But for now, I'm just going to do it like this, and then I'm going to close the main constant. Okay, so we got the constant closed. Now, here's the fun part. What I want to do, I want in HTML, right? I want in HTML to look for this particular ID and use that to display the information on the site without actually writing this on the HTML code. You know, right now, if we go back onto the code, and you can see here, this information is displayed, you know, it's written straight into the HTML code. I can actually use what I coded on the array here, on the data array, and say, well, I'm going to display ID1, or I'm going to display from ID1 image, or I'm going to display from ID1 title, and it shows that down in the HTML code. So it's literally making everything even more cleaner. Okay? Done with this. Next thing we got to do, we need to leverage what we configured on the previous video, which is the class with the constructor. Why? Because I need to use that to iterate into every single value that I'm placing on the constant. Okay? What is the value that we need to add? We need to add data, because that's the name of the constant, right? And then we are just going to open and close this, just like balance, because we need to expect any possible value from the constant itself, so it can go to every single constant and use every single value inside the constant and use that to display the information. Okay? Okay, so we got that. Now, same goes with balance here. Remember what we have to do here? We have to say that balance is the result of etherscan.data. This was for the API call. Now, data is the result of data. Why? Because that's the name of my constant right here. So data equals data, right? Data is the result of data. In this case, whatever information I have inside data. But in this case, now I just need to display that. Data equals data. Data equals what? Data, which is the name of the constant that we configure in the up, you know, here. Okay. Done. We got that ready to go, right? So we got now data, and now we got data equals data. Okay. Now here comes the form part. I'm not going to type this. I already have it scripted out because it's easier and it takes less time on the video. Now we need to build that box, right? In which I need to show the picture, I need to show the title, and I need to show that button, that buy now button. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Because our site, it's inside a row. What I can actually do, I can build a row item so it continues down into the second row. Okay, so I have row. Now I need to I need to build a row item, and this is HTML. If you want to know more about HTML, I suggest watch a couple of videos about HTML, how columns works, row items, forms, etc. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to build a row. Okay, so let me go ahead and do that. So I am going to display row items, right? I'm going to display row items. Let me copy. And I want to display that after the form because that's my NFT mint portal form. I don't want to screw that up, so I need to create this below it, right? So we are creating the row items, right? Now, this is the important part, okay? I need to start reading the data variable or the data constant and exporting all the information so I can display that dynamically on the HTML code, right? So what I need to do a very similar approach as I did with the balance for the API call. I need to do a very similar thing. The only difference here is that I have a lot of values that I need to also list. How do I do that? I need to create basically, it's like a loop in which I need to map anything that is inside data as an item of the ID. Let me go back. ID 1 has 3 items. Let me go back. Let's go up. ID 1 has 3 items. What are those 3 items? The image, the title, and the button text. Okay? You following me? What it's going to do, every time that it sees a new ID, oh, you have another item, right? That means that you have another ID. So let's say we configure this again for ID number 2. Then it knows that it needs to redo the same thing every time that there's an ID configured inside data, okay? So let's go back. And you're going to see it once I configure it, you're going to understand this 100%, okay? So I am going to open that for loop because it needs to start reading every single item that I have in that constant, okay? Now, what I need to do, once you read that information, I want you to return, right? I want you to return whatever is exported from the ID, and ID X, it's the actual ID, in this case, number 1. Export that. While you export that, you're going to build, every time that there's an ID, you build a box. You see? So let's say we have 4 NFTs. We're going to have 4 IDs, which means that every time it runs through the list and does a loop to every single item, it's going to build a box. So if we have 4 NFTs, it's going to do what? It's going to go ID 1, ID 2, ID 3, ID 4. And those are your boxes inside the website. You see where I'm going? This is way simpler than literally configuring every single box for every single item. You don't want to go that route. That's just nonsense. Literally, it's not efficient. What you do instead, it's just going to look for the ID. Every time that it sees an ID, it's going to build a new box with the information below. Okay? So let's go ahead and continue. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to paste all this at once. I'm going to paste this first. Inside that box, I want you to build it as a card box, right? That will have an image over the card, meaning that the whole background will be a card, an image. What's the image? The NFT, okay? So let me go ahead and copy that. This is now the fun part. I am going to bring the image in, okay? And where are you going to look for the path to that image? You're going to look under item, that image. What is the item? It's the ID. What is the ID? In this case, it's ID number 1. Let's go to ID number 1. ID number 1. Oh, I see image as well. And you're asking me for item.image. Oh, so you mean from ID number 1 dot image, then look at this for the path. And this is how I'm going to open that IPFS picture, okay? Let's go back. So we got that information there. Now, obviously, you know, we open a div, we have to close it. Let me go ahead and close it. Div, done. We closed that one. Now, I need to show the title, and I need to create a buy now button, okay? So what I'm gonna do, I am going to I'm gonna just create the whole thing, right? I'm going to create, let me go ahead and paste. I'm gonna show you how everything makes sense in this particular config. So we already display the item. Now we need to provide a caption. What will that option do on the class name? What it's going to do is just going to build a white box below the picture in which we can show information. We can show the title of the NFT. We can show the button. We can show a lot of properties. Okay? What are we showing? Inside the card body for this card caption, we are going to show the title. Remember again, item.title. Item, ID number 1. What's ID number 1? Oh, what's the title? This is the information I want to show on the website. Awesome. So I got that there. Okay, so you want to show from item number 1, show me the title, and then you have a title configured. That's what's going to be shown as a header number 5. Okay. Next, I want to show on the bottom of the card, this is display flex and justify content between, meaning that, hey, I just want to display flex, but then justify the contents so they are, aligned with the rest of the information. Again, this is literally HTML alignment and justifying. We're not going to work on that. However, what I want to show you in the button, we are going to create a button. And if you remember one of the first videos, we talked about Bootstrap. We're still using Bootstrap here, okay? So I'm calling the button object from Bootstrap. What is the class name? It's a button. I want a border of white. I want the button to be the smaller size. This is configured in CSS. And I want to have a margin on the top of 3 pixels. So, so it gets a little bit lower from the picture and everything else. Okay. What I'm going to look for, I am going to look for item. What is item? Number 1. What is the button text? And this is basically, I have to, that was a typo. I got to fix that. Button text. Button text equals what? Buy now. That's what I need to display. Buy now. Okay? So that's what I'm going to display here. Got it? And finally, I close the button, but if you see here, we still have some errors that we have to fix. What do we have to fix? It's pretty much we have to close all the diffs. So they're open, but there's no closing diffs at the end. So I'm just going to go at that point, I'm going to close everything. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to grab this, copy. And I believe if I paste it here, let's see, I think I don't need 1. There we go. I don't need 1. And this is not like properly aligned. You should definitely align it correctly because then you know what closes what. So you can see here, in my case, this div, it's closed by this one, right? This div is closed by this one. This div is closed by, and you see what I'm going through. So alignment makes a lot of sense, okay? Having this, we should already have a card in our site. Let me go ahead and save it and see how that looks. Saving, let me go back to the site. What's the issue right here? The issue is that we don't have the picture because I haven't populated the URL. But you can see here, we got a buy now, we got the name, we just need to display the NFT. Okay, so let me go ahead back and let me grab the IPFS path and store that here and save it, okay? And we are, let me copy and paste real quick, and copy and paste. Okay, so that's the full path. Remember on the previous video when we uploaded to IPFS, that's the path and this is the image file. Now I'm gonna save it and we're gonna go back and see how that looks. Control S, let's go back. There you go. Let me separate it a little bit from the form. So what we can do is very simple. We got to go into the road items and then we're just going to say margin top and we're just going to put 3. It's S. Let's go back. Beautiful. Beautiful. Drum roll, because this is now the power of what we just did. Check this out. What I'm going to do, I'm going to display 4. Okay? Watch this. Very simple. Let's go back. Let me copy all this. 2, 3, 4. Let me change this ID to be 2. ID to be 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, and save it. And let's take a look at that. Ah! You see, this is why I'm telling you. It is very important to understand how class does help us simplify the code. All this information that I just displayed on React has been properly aligned, has been properly called, and we streamline the configuration by just creating a single constant and listing everything on the system on the single constant. So what you're looking at the config is a single variable, but then every single NFT is listed here. If we go to the actual loop, this is basically what I'm doing. I am calling every single ID. As every time that you detect that there's an ID in the data map, this is what I'm doing right here. I'm telling, hey, go over every single item, every single ID that you see there, and then run this whole HTML code. And every time that there's an ID, it's just gonna create a new box, grab the image, show the title, and show the button text. How can we make it different? We can just say NFT number 1. Right? And we can say NFT number 2, copy, paste, number 2, copy, paste, number 3. Remember, every single ID is unique. So even though that I have everything, everything is the same, I can actually change individual stuff and it's just going to show the right thing. It's going to show based on what the ID it's configured for. Okay, so I got 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to save it. Let's go back. There you go. You see? This is why it's very powerful. Classes are amazing. You can make the code way simpler. This is now the power of it. I just showed you how to manually create your NFT listings. If you can use API for this, you don't even need to write anything. You just talk to API. Every time that it sees an ID, it just auto-populates the whole thing. So literally with 2 or 3 lines of code, you list the entire contract tokens over here. No additional effort, no additional config required. What you can do now is you can actually create the title. You can make a title. You can make like an overview of your collection here. This is what it's meant for, blah, blah, blah. You can make a roadmap. You can make a lot of things. I'm just showing you how quick and easy it is to just use an array of items inside the constant and call that one time on HTML, but because we coded a loop, it's just going to go over and over and over until all the IDs are gone, and then it stops creating more IDs, right? So let's say I can say now, I can continue. I can literally copy this whole thing and paste it below. As long as everything is inside this bracket, then it will just continue going over each one. Awesome. You liked that, huh? I know you liked it. Okay? So, with that said, I am concluding this video. I hope you found this very, very, very important, very useful for your project. On the upcoming videos, what I want to do is the following. I want to get to leverage API to show who's the current owner of that particular token. Meaning that the wallet that Etherscan is showing as the holder of that token is listed on the box. Once we're done with that, I got you a surprise. We're going to build our NFT marketplace and people can buy and sell their NFTs. Stick around. Alright guys, I hope you liked this video. If you like my content, please give it a thumbs up, follow, subscribe, and that will definitely help me continue doing this for you guys. Alrighty, so that's it for now, and we'll see you on the next video. Thank you so much.